Hi there. Okay, so this time I would like first to talk about something that all individuals pass through because first they are conceived, then they have a term of 9 months in their mother's uterus or womb, and then they are birthed, and then they are nurtured, all right, by their parents. I would like first to talk about family values. Family values. What do we or can we refer to as family values? Okay, so whatever a married couple, okay, whatever a couple, married, man, woman, husband, wife, value as what they adhere to as their personal constitution or as their norm or acceptable ways of behaving. It could be something as that could be perceived to be as simple as language. However, language cannot be, I would say, simple. The acquisition of knowledge, language cannot be referred to as being simple, nor can the, I would say, the use of it. Now, to begin with, I consider language to be, I would say, the acquisition, especially the use of it, to be an art. Okay, so choosing the kind of words that one uses for whatever language that they've acquired is an art. So, for instance, say you are, or say a married couple has acquired the language English, the English language, and they have decided to use language that is not, I would say, foul, right? Language that is not, words that are not dysfunctional, words that are not, they don't have any negative connotations, words that would not sway, for instance, the mind, the forming mind, I would say, because at the early developmental stages, the mind of an individual is still very tender, is still very, I would say, open to attack. It's not, they've not acquired the rationalistic thinking, and so such language as foul could sway them. So, human beings, there is the debate that human beings are, I would say, generally of I would say, formed of two natures. All right, there's the biological nature, that's the nature, and then there is the nurture, which is the environment. Okay, and both the nature and the nurture would form an individual. From the biological perspective, at conception, a man donates his 23 chromosomes, a woman donates 23 chromosomes. If a man donates a Y and a woman donates an X, it forms a male child. If a man donates an X and a woman donates an X2, it becomes a female child. All right, so, but what happens is when the child is born, then the process of learning begins, and the parents are already adults. They should already be adults, so they too pass through the stage of nurturance from their parents, so they know what is right and they know what is wrong. They know language that is proper, they know language that is appropriate, they know language that is foul, they know language that is dysfunctional, they know what is rude, and they know what is not rude from a behavioral perspective. So, choosing to be married to an individual is what people take a lot, I would say, some time to decide. All right, so people, when they marry, they can decide to just stay married. So they go on ahead to decide to have children, and then they begin to pursue a career, they begin to want to be educated, they begin to want to be, I would say, people that are reckoned with in society. So, socioeconomic status is what they find desirable. The children that are a product of their biological makeup, they, I would say, it would appear that the children are not very well prioritized, and that could have that could have quite very terrible and undesirable effects on the marriage, or on the family, or on the children. And we could take it a step further to say that could have an undesirable effect on the society, on the world, if if parents do not teach their children values. All right, they don't teach the children how to be, for instance, how to devote attention, how to have focus, how to be determined, how not to be swayed by situations preparatory to, I would say, situations that would be terrible, that would be traumatic, that would be negative, that would most definitely happen in a lifetime. Because in a lifetime, we cannot always experience things that we like, and we cannot always even have what we want. Okay, even if we bargain for what we want, sometimes we may not necessarily get what we want. So it is very important for parents to be to 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 lead by good, excellent example. Now I'm going to use the Bobodole experiment by Albert Bandura, 1963, to illustrate this. So after demonstrating that children could learn violence from watching violence from the television, he decided that, or determined that, there needed to be a model. All right, there needed to be a behavior that they were learning from by observation, and then mimicking that behavior. By mimicking that behavior, I mean reproducing that behavior, trying to do exactly what the person on the television was doing. And so perhaps we could say the model here is the parents. At the early developmental stages, children do not yet have a highly developed mind. They cannot reason or think like adults. They cannot be rational in their thinking. So they basically just look at adults, and though they are very observant and discerning, they can understand to an extent, I would say, that whatever the adults do is the proper and right thing to do. Now, this is exactly the reason why adults, especially parents, should be very careful what they do. I'm not saying they should do the right thing before their children and do something that is inappropriate in their closet or in their private spaces. No, generally, they could lead or live a life that is worth emulating by their children, and that would be essentially, I would say, profiting to the children. Okay, so perhaps the example of the boy of Aveyron, the feral child that was picked in the woods in the 17th century in French society and managed by Dr. Jean-Marc Gaspard Itard. He did not have any upbringing. He did not go through any parental teaching. He did not go through any nurturance process, and so he didn't basically even acquire language. His temporal lobe had not acquired any language, and his memory had no language in it. And so the, the, the doctor took it upon himself to teach the boy, as he was called, Victor. Perhaps that was a pseudonym. He taught him language, and to an extent, the doctor said after some time that he had acquired language, even though he was still very reserved and didn't want to use language, and that he had also developed or acquired empathy. What is empathy? Being able to feel with others when they're going through trying times. How do you do that? You place yourself, you imagine that it was you going through that certain thing that they are going through. And how did Victor display empathy? The helper house help of Dr. Jean Mark Aitat lost, if I recall correctly, it was a husband, and Victor displayed empathy. Okay, perhaps even measurable empathy by his behavior. What am I saying in essence? There is nothing that can substitute family values, family proper moral upbringing by parents. And so the same vigor, the same determination that we approach deciding who would be our spouse, we should use the same energy and invest it in bringing our children up. If we did that, we would have a lot, done ourselves a lot of good service, the children, the society, and the world in general. So if you're a parent or if you're planning to become a parent, think about it and take this very seriously. I dare you to do this. Thank you.